Welcome to Cocktails in the War Room. Every night at 8:30, we meet right here on the Mistress Carrie Facebook page to talk about our day and congratulate each other for making it through another crazy day out there in the world. By the way, this is the 59th time that we've met here in the War Room. What's going on, Kate? And this has turned into a club. We're a crew. We're a gang. We're a bunch of people that have turned into one hell of a badass support group to get us through everything. Hey, Becky. Hey, Drea. What's going on, Monica? Hey, Mariah. Santa Bob. Hey, Deborah. Elsa and Madeline. So we meet every night at 8:30 here in the War Room. And, you know, we've talked about it many times. It's something I look forward to all day. It forces me to bathe and wear pants, which I need that kind of inspiration after months of being kind of sequestered and locked away in the house. Hey, Billy, what's going on, Joe? Travis. Hey, Kelly. Hey, Jonathan. And I love it. It's something I look forward to. And I love the fact that when there are things to celebrate, that we have a group here that's ready, willing, and able to do it. And then when it's time to kind of be there for each other and be a shoulder to cry on, we have that same group of people here. So yeah, Jeff says, I was just watching Metallica because it is Metallica Monday. So feel free to put the Metallica on in the background while we're hanging out. Hey, Mickey. So like it says in the description of the video, today was a good day for me. And as you know from hanging out with me for the last 59 nights in a row here in the War Room, there are some days that are good and some days that are not so good. What's going on, Torch? I miss you. Hey, Craig. Craig, wah. And Daniel, what's going on, Heather? And today I actually felt like I made some progress. I got some things done, got some confirmation on a few things. I was on the phone and on video chats all day and not, just, drunk doing nothing like I do a lot of the time with my friends, especially late night. A lot of time after I get out of the War Room with you guys, I end up on a Zoom call with my friends who have all been drinking for hours. But today I actually felt like some of the hard work that I've been putting in and some of the phone calls and the favors that I've been calling in and the research I've been doing, I feel like I'm starting to turn a corner and I'm starting to see that maybe progress is being made, and I'm starting to slowly become hopeful that my career could come out of the ashes of WAAF and actually start going in new and exciting places. I am nowhere near being able to kind of make some kind of big announcement because I don't have anything big to announce right now, but I am excited that some small steps have been taken. And I think with it, the way that everything's been lately, I think we have to celebrate the small victories. And I think we have to allow ourselves to kind of be happy and celebrate any kind of forward momentum and progress because we need that. Mark says, doing my bike class on Saturday. Fantastic. Cassandra says, hubby and daughter are in bed right now and I'm having a drink and folding and putting away laundry. Good on you. When you're done, you can come fold my laundry because you guys know how much I hate to do it. Ash says, progress is always good. Yes, it is. So to progress, no matter how slow it may be, progress and forward movement are still progress and forward movement. And we could all use a little bit of that. So cheers to you guys. I hope that you had a day today that moved you forward a little bit and made you feel like at the end of the day, you're starting to accomplish something, or that maybe some of your stresses are starting to let up a little bit. Bob says the fact that you're going in the right direction is awesome. Exactly. It just, Rick says there were less than 1,000 new cases today. Yay. Actually, there were 669 new cases that were confirmed in Massachusetts. There were 1,050 yesterday. So that's what I'm saying. We're not out of the woods yet, but any kind of good news, I'm going to take it right now. So cheers to the good news. Slow and steady wins the race, says Michelle. Tracy says, God damn, do I miss your voice on the radio? Trust me, I miss having my voice on the radio for you to hear. I actually, completely unrelated, please don't read anything into this. But speaking of the radio, so I talked to my old boss, Joe, today. Now, Joe was only with us for about 1.5 years, but quickly became part of the family. He was the guy that was on the air with Mike Shue and I in the last 15 minutes in the studio. Gave up everything, moved his whole family to Massachusetts to take over WAAF. And Joe and I worked hand in hand and side by side, rebuilding what was going to be the new and improved WAAF, which of course we all know by now never happened. And he has just been amazing. And has just been giving me some very solid career advice and has been someone that has been super supportive and encouraging for me, as is a lot of my former bosses. Joe, the program director before him, Ron. I'm really lucky that the people that I worked for in the past have been just so generous with their time and their business advice and their encouragement. And, these are people that had other jobs before and come into the company and left and maybe had come back again. And they're people that I worked for huge chunks of my life. And it's really nice to know that even though we're not working together anymore and working at a station that doesn't exist anymore, that they're still helping me and guiding me and trying to help me move forward. And it's just really, I don't know, it just recharges my faith in humanity a little bit. And it's something I talked to Joe about today, that it's the hardest part of everything that I've gone through since we got the news in February that WAAF had sold the frequency and that we were all going to be let go. The hardest part for me has been the loss of what I spent all those years trying to build. I told Joe today that, when I think, yes, why did somebody say humbling, Melissa? Yeah, it's humbling for me to think that, that I'm still worthy of their time and advice and their efforts. And, I spent a lot of years giving up things. A job like what we had at WAAF, we were always kind of, back against the wall, working, with a smaller staff or fewer resources. And so there was a lot of late nights and holidays and weekends. And there was just a lot of extra effort that was required by everyone on the staff. It was like if you were only doing one job on the staff, then you weren't going to last very long because everyone had to give a little extra. And so when I look back at all of the things I missed, especially time with my friends and family, the weddings that I missed because I, was working, or the birthday parties, or the time with family, or the meals, or, just all of those kinds of things that you always thought, well, I'm sacrificing these things because I'm building something and this is where my efforts for my job are going. The hardest part for me is that, it's not there anymore. Like if you're an iron worker and you spend years building this structure and then the job is over, but the structure remains, then you can see that structure and tell the story of that structure and say, I helped create that. I helped to build that. There are sacrifices there, and you gave of your time and your efforts and your expertise and your education, and you put everything you had in your heart and soul into it. And then when a wrecking ball comes and tears that building down, then all of that effort that you put into making it is now erased. And even though, it's not exactly an exact analogy, because, WAF will always be in one shape or form. It will always be part of me and you. And, but just the fact that it's not there anymore, the loss of that, and thinking about what I sacrificed to help to build it, I'm having the hardest time with that it's just gone. And what I loved so much, that place, that thing, that being, it was a living, breathing monster, and that it's not there. That loss is still incredibly painful for me. I've accepted, looking for a new job. I've accepted that my life is going to change. I've accepted that I've had to do all of these things during a global pandemic. And, when you're watching the news every day and you're watching, ICU nurses with bruises on their faces because they're wearing these masks all day to try and not get sick, taking care of the most at-risk patients so that they can go home to their families. I mean, it's pretty easy to keep your priorities in check. But talking to my old boss, Joe, today, it really made me feel good that a lot of what we sacrificed for and worked so hard for is real and is still there, even if the station isn't there. Because even if we don't talk to each other all the time, even if we don't see each other all the time, we're still family. And I'm starting to get teary-eyed all of a sudden. I don't know where this is coming from, but just, the 15-minute FaceTime call, or I was texting with Shu today because he and I are, keeping in touch, and I'm so sorry. I don't know where this is coming from. I had a really good day today, I promise. But the family part of it, even if the station isn't there, is still so powerful. And Dan says, upstairs Joe or downstairs Joe? We only had one Joe at WAF. I guess he's considered upstairs Joe to everyone else in the building, but we only had one Joe. But it just makes me feel really good that we're still all keeping in touch in one way, shape, or form. And, I was telling Joe today, no disrespect, Joe, because we only worked together for about a year and a half, although we were together a lot for that year and a half. And as the assistant program director, I was kind of his right hand. And so we worked very closely together. But I told Joe the hardest part is just not seeing Mike Shu every day. It's awful. I miss that guy so much. And it's, that's one of the things that has made, everything going on with the virus so hard is, I think we talk about it in the War Room all the time, how devastating it must be to lose a family member or a loved one right now, because you're not able to properly grieve together as a family and as a social circle, whether it be through your religious affiliation or just all of the different circles that your loved one was a part of. And that's been really hard going through the grieving and the mourning process of the radio station, is that very quickly after we played Black Sabbath and walked out the door, we haven't been able to get together. We haven't been able to see each other. We haven't been able to go and, now that some time has passed and be able to go and kind of get together and process it together. And, it's really nice when I talk to the people that I worked with to know that they're feeling the same way and that I'm not crazy for feeling the way that I do. And so it was just really awesome, to have the conversations and the phone calls that I did today, texting with Shu and hearing how he's doing and what he's, planning and how he's hoping to get there. And he and I are kind of trying to help each other where we can. And hey, do you have this person's phone number? And do you know what that website was? And it might seem like stupid things, but it means a lot for someone that I worked with so closely for years and years and years. And so to just have a good day, some things arrived in packages today that I need to move forward, some equipment and just little things, and dealing with some banking stuff, and just at the end of the day, I sat down today and I was like, wow, today's a good day. And I don't have them all that often. And then I'm saying this and I'm all of a sudden bursting into tears live on Facebook, feeling like an idiot because I'm not sad today. But I don't know, I had a really good day today, and it just felt really, really good to have a good day. Eric says, what's Shu's number? We can all text him. Oh, I'm sure he would love that. I want Mike Shu to stay in my life. I don't want him to hate me. Did I sleep? A little bit. I probably got about 4 hours of sleep last night, uninterrupted, which is pretty good. So thank you for asking, William. So I had a good day today. I hope that you guys had a good day. Wednesday is good. Without giving too much away, Wednesday was a little mischievous today, and she got into some things and ate some things that she shouldn't have eaten today. And so she got punished today. She's a very mischievous dog. I was working on something and obviously was ignoring her too much for her liking today. And she ripped up a bunch of stuff and destroyed a couple things and got herself in a little bit of trouble. So she got put in timeout today. She didn't like it. Yeah, the pillows are still on the couch. I did bring some toys in to try and lure her in, but she got into a little bit of trouble today. I wanted to go over a bunch of stuff with you guys today because there's a lot of news to get through and some good things and some sad things. If you are a veteran and are having financial issues, Chapter 115 here in Massachusetts could be very helpful for you. Some of my veterans friends have been sharing this link, so I wanted to put this out there in case you needed it. If you are a veteran in need, if you are looking for some kind of financial assistance or just assistance in general, maybe you don't know all of the programs that are available that might be able to help you, and you can go to Mass Vet Ben, so MASS for Massachusetts, Vet, VET for veteran, and Ben for benefits, BEN, massvetben.org, all one word. You can get a breakdown of some of the benefits that you might not know you qualify for if you are a veteran here in the Commonwealth. The 11th annual Flag Garden that is usually in the Boston Common, which puts up a flag for every Massachusetts service member that's been killed, I believe, since the Revolution. They are not putting that up this year. It's been canceled, which is really sad because it's such a beautiful flag garden and they put it up every year, and it's just incredibly moving and powerful, and just really sad that they're not going to put it up there. Let me see. This weekend, sunsets start being after 8 o'clock at night, so we're getting more daylight, which is really good because as the temperatures start to warm up, obviously being able to get outside and get some fresh air and some vitamin D is going to help all of us. So that's good. Dave Grohl says that the new Foo Fighters album is, quote, our David Bowie's Last Dance reference. Let's Dance reference, I should say. Can I say that sentence again, please? Because I'm reading 6 things at once. Dave Grohl says the new Foo Fighters album is our David Bowie's Let's Dance record. So obviously the music that the Foos have been working on is a little interesting. And they are taking a page out of David Bowie's playbook, which is never a bad thing to do. Let me see. The governor announced that May 18th is going to be the day that we are getting, which is next Monday, the report from the reopening committee. There's going to be a phased reopening. It's going to be in 4 phases. There'll be the start of the reopening. There will be the cautious phase, the vigilant phase, and then the new normal phase. And you can expect to be wearing masks. So you're going to want to get your hands on some masks because we're probably going to be wearing them for a while. Massachusetts saw an increase in traffic for the first time in months. So I guess we should celebrate that there's more traffic in Massachusetts because that means forward progress towards getting back to a new normal of sitting on 128 in traffic for hours trying to get someplace. Also, speaking of progress, the construction of Polar Park, which is the minor league ballpark that they are putting up in Worcester, the construction is going to resume this week, which is great. Again, progress, forward movement, which is awesome. There was an opera singer that serenaded the North End yesterday on Mother's Day. Did you see that? Which I thought was just kind of really cool. I love seeing all of these stories about how people are coming together as communities and neighborhoods. And there was some cell phone video that hit the internet of this opera singer who was just serenading the North End. And I thought it was very, very cool. Robert Kraft is auctioning off his Super Bowl 51 ring, the one that has 283 diamonds, to commemorate the 28-3 score against the Falcons in the third quarter of the Super Bowl that they came back and won, by the way. It's for the All In Challenge, and he is auctioning off the ring. If you are in New England, he's going to send his personal car and driver to come and get you, to bring you to Gillette, to give you a guided tour through the museum, to give you the ring, to have lunch. If you live outside of New England and you win the auction, they will send Aircraft One to come and get you, to bring you to Gillette to do the same thing. As of about 10 minutes before I walked into the war room, there were 26 bids on Robert Kraft's Super Bowl 51 ring, which, by the way, this is all going to charity. And so far, the high bid is $700,000. So you know that I'm not going to get the ring, but someone is getting the ring, and I am very curious to see who is going to get the ring. I think it would be hilarious if this auction, was ended up being won by someone like Peyton Manning, because if you heard about the Roger Goodell auction to watch a game like in his man cave or whatever, and El Presidente from Barstool actually won the auction for $250,000, which totally has the internet in an uproar right now to see if Goodell is going to allow his arch nemesis to come into his basement. Hilarious. I'm very curious if it's going to be an entertainment celebrity or another athlete or who it is. But so far, the high bid for Robert Kraft's Super Bowl 51 ring is $700,000. The UK government, if you're looking to go and watch some sports, any sports, just give me some sports. I mean, Americans are begging for soccer right now just to have something to watch. So the UK government has approved the Premier League's return on June 1st. So if we don't have American sports by then, you're probably going to end up watching soccer. You've been warned. And then just to go over some of the numbers for the coronavirus, there is a key model right now that is predicting by August 1st that there will be 137,000 deaths in the United States. Today, we crossed the threshold of 80,000 deaths, or actually 80,239 fatalities in the United States, with 1.345 million cases. In Massachusetts, the cases are down. They only had 669 confirmed cases in the last 24 hours in Massachusetts. And the fatalities just in the Commonwealth reached 5,108 today. So that is basically all of the headlines and what's going on today. It's not my favorite, but I actually like soccer, says Deanna. I even watched video games soccer on FS1 last night. That's how much I want sports, says Eric. Andrew says NASCAR. I mean, they had UFC without a crowd. The professional bull riders is still going on, says David. So there are some sports. But have you, I'm sure, because it's got like 35 million views, the marble races, like people are racing marbles in sand on the beach right now. Like people are watching marble racing on the internet because they want sports so bad. Melissa is telling me exactly what I wanted to tell you guys as well. Jerry Stiller, Ben Stiller's dad, who was on Seinfeld and just a comedic genius. Ben Stiller took to social media to confirm the news that his dad had in fact passed of natural causes at the age of 92. So that is someone who lived a full life and who was amazingly funny and talented. Jessica says, I just want concerts. Cheers to that, Jessica, seriously. Stacy says soccer is just hockey on grass with no sticks. Okay, I can't argue with that. So there you go. Serenity now, says Deanna. Exactly. Finding toilet paper is a sport right now. Actually, if you're having a hard time finding toilet paper right now, you're going to the wrong stores, because every time I've had to leave the house, I've been able to find toilet paper, including at Staples. I saw toilet paper at the gas station. I think the toilet paper cruise is, the craze is gone now. The hardest thing I have been having a hard time finding is flour. Like baking supplies are what is the toughest thing to get. Loved him on The King of Queens, says Mariah as well. Yeah, so we need to get you background sound effects, headlines, birthdays, artifacts. Jeff, basically what you're saying is you just want me to have a fully produced radio show, which is what I used to have. And I would love to have that again. But here in the war room, it's me and my fancy schmancy tripod and my light and my notebook here that has all of my stuff written in it, which I'm going to save forever. You guys know what a sentimental weirdo I am about saving things. And this notebook is the part of the notebook that's already gone. This is the part of the notebook that's left. And I write a new page every day of what I want to talk to you guys about. And so this notebook is now kind of turning into a coronavirus time capsule of all of the things that we talked about in the war room while we were having cocktails. And so I definitely think that it's something that I'm going to save as part of like my archives and want to keep it here in the war room because it's part of war room history now. And I love this book. It has like ribbons so that I can keep pages, so that I can refer back to pages where I have things written down. And so I just think it's so weird how, you know, like this notebook, just to show you like how random it is, it says Franklin and Bash. That was a show on TNT. I went to California to the press junket when I was at AAF, and this was one of like the promotional tchotchkes they gave me. I brought it home from the press junket and threw it in a drawer in my old WAF office, and it sat there for, I don't know how long it's been since Franklin and Bash was on TV, what, 10 years? And then when I found the notebook, it was empty. It was brand new. And I was like, oh, I'll use that for something. And that's what I started writing all of the cocktails and the war room stuff in. So now this weird Franklin and Bash notebook that I found in my office is now becoming my diary of everything that, it's my Rona diary, says Thomas. Exactly. David says Wednesday can provide the sound effects. Yeah, exactly. Deanna says absolutely archive that. You guys are all commenting on things that you're having a hard time finding. I found rice, actually, which I was pretty impressed about, but flour I have been having a hard time finding. What did you do to Wednesday? I didn't do anything to her. She's sleeping in the other room. Hold on. Let me see if I can get her. Thank you for all the compliments on my Dr. Feelgood Tour Motley Crue shirt. It says on the back, "Crew fans are the best, fuck the rest." Wednesday, do you want to come play with the stingray? Come here. She got yelled at today. I think she's mad at me. But she was a bad girl today. She was eating things like styrofoam that could have made her very sick. Come here. She's just laying there looking at me right now like, oh, now you want to be nice to me, Mom? You were yelling at me earlier and now you want to be nice? Yeah, so it's my old school. I will say this, that out of all of the concert shirts that I've kept over the years, the white ones don't hold up. They get kind of dingy. You can't really see it because of this fantastic light that I have, but this shirt is definitely not as white as it once was. I didn't buy a lot of white shirts back in the day. That's why you don't see me in them a lot. I don't like wearing white, but I bought it partly because it had a skull on the front and partly because it said fuck on the back, although the U and the C have skulls in the places, but I still couldn't wear it to school because it even insinuated the F word, which is... Eric says, fuck the rest. Squeaker, 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 squeaker. Fucking Stingray, says Diva. I know. Carrie says, Motley Crue was my first concert at the Centrum. Perfect sound effect timing. Thank you very much. Jeff says, F you, Mom. That's what she's saying. That's exactly what she's saying right now. Tammy says, I have an unopened 5-pound bag of flour that I'm not going to use. Tammy, you want to hold on to that because if things get squirrely out there, you've got yourself currency. So that's an old one, like 91 or 92. Yeah, it was the Dr. Feelgood tour. So, and I believe this was either at the Centrum or it was at the Garden. I can't remember which one. Let's see. They get yellow, says Dave. Yeah, that's what happened to it. It started to get yellow. I swear by the OxiClean White Revive, it's magic, says Brianna. Well, then I will try it if it will bring back my white Motley Crue shirt. All concert shirts, t-shirts black, says Renee. Yeah, I don't buy white shirts anymore. I buy black ones because I just wear black all the time. My first concert was Metallica in 91, says William. So let's see. Crew and Aerosmith. Kevin says, saw them in OOB. Oh, isn't it going to be nice to be able to go to the beach again? Thank you, because today has been a bad day for me, says Kelly. So that's what I mean. You know, like I had a really great day today, but it's still, you know, tomorrow could suck. I mean, and we're just on a roller coaster that none of us wanted to get on, and we would all like to get off, and we can't. So, you know, if you're having a bad day today, you need to just hold on and know that it's not going to last. And if you had a good day today, then you need to savor it because it's not going to last. So soak the shirts overnight in hot water. I was skeptical, but I'm hooked. Okay. Can hear Steven Tyler and yourself with your harmonica lessons. Good time, says Tracy. That was a good time. Do I have any Rush shirts, says Paul? I believe I have one. Is it Counterparts? That tour? I don't remember which tour it was, but I believe I have one Rush shirt, but I'm going to have to keep digging. Let's see. Poison and Warrant at the Original Garden. Renee says, yeah, it's definitely a roller coaster. Have someone make a blanket or a throw out of your shirt, says Debbie. Well, right now I'm still wearing them. They all still fit. And as you get older, if you can still fit into shirts you bought when you were in high school, you don't want to cut that shit. You want to be able to keep wearing it. So I don't want to cut them up right now, but maybe someday. Although from the prices that I've seen for old school rock shirts on the internet, I'm pretty sure they're worth a ton of money if you don't cut them up. So, you know, I might need to pay the mortgage with my concert shirts someday. Any Bad Company shirts? Dennis wants to know. I don't believe so. I don't think I have any. ML says, Rush Moving Pictures 1984 at the Garden was my first concert. That is fantastic. Tony says, Mike Shue just got a boner. Rush reference. Actually, that was 2 Rush references. I would love to see what you have for Kiss shirts. I only have a couple. One of them is a Christmas shirt, which is actually pretty funny. It says Merry Christmas on it. Do you have any cool Rob Zombie stories? I remember, I've interviewed Rob Zombie multiple times. The first time I interviewed him, I believe we were at the Palladium in one of the dressing rooms, and I was super intimidated because I had never interviewed him before, and I had heard that, sometimes, people might not have had a good experience with him or whatever. But at the time, I was living in Methuen, and he's from Haverhill. And so we started talking about, the old neighborhood kind of stuff. And then we started talking about pugs because he is part of the Rockstar Pug Club. And his pug, I believe, was called Frankenstein. And so we just started talking about pugs. And now every time I've talked to him since, we always kind of pick up the pug conversation because pugs are just weird dogs and weird people have them. And I am a weird person, and so is Rob Zombie. But he's always been incredibly gracious to me. I've never had a bad experience with him. There isn't anything, that really kind of stands out. I remember, what was the name of the tour? It had to have been, this is before I was on the air at AF, it had to have been 95, 96. And I believe it was White Zombie and Pantera. And they played at the Meadows in Hartford. And I was on the crew down there. And I just remember that show being banana pants. It was just crazy. Eric wants to know Ozzy stories. There is always an Ozzy story. I've met him a couple of times. I met him at the DCU Center. I've interviewed him quite a few times. When I talk to Ozzy, I usually talk to him about the Beatles just because he is a huge Beatles fan, and so am I. And so we always talk about that. I do remember on one of the early Ozfests, when we were at the Xfinity Center, Great Woods, the Tweeter Center, whatever it was called back then, I remember Ozzy, and I think he was with Kelly, and he was driving a golf cart, and the security guard was like in the back-facing seats, and Kelly was in the passenger seat, and Ozzy was driving the golf cart through the parking lot at Ozfest. And I just remember the look, like Ozzy people were freaking out. And I just remember the look on his security guard's face that was like half having fun and half scared shitless. Wendy wants to know what my favorite Beatles song is. That's tough. You're asking me a very difficult question. I think it really depends on the mood. I love Blackbird. I love, love, love Oobla Dee Oobla Da. I always cry when I hear Golden Slumber. It reminds me of my mom in a weird way. There's so many of them. Like The Long and Winding Road literally guts me like a fish every time I hear it. I love the Beatles so much that it's impossible. It's like a mood thing. Like sometimes you're in the mood for Rubber Soul. Sometimes you're in the mood for the White Album. Sometimes you're in the mood for Sgt. Pepper. I mean, I'm one of those people that loves the movie starring the Bee Gees and Peter Frampton. And that's why Aerosmith recorded Come Together was the soundtrack to that movie. I love that movie. I watched it so many times when I was a kid. I'm just a huge Beatles fan. So they have always been one of those bands that I have wanted to get a tattoo for. And I haven't decided if it would be a blackbird or like what my Beatles tattoo would be. But someday I will have a Beatles tattoo. Ooh, good question from super producer Mike from Afghanistan. My favorite Beatles cover? Fuck. There's so many. I don't know. there's a ton of Beatles covers. I mean, the Aerosmith one, for example, like Aerosmith's Come Together is amazing. I mean, almost to the point where there are some people that think it's an Aerosmith song. I used to sing Golden Slumber to my kids when they were babies, says Cheryl. Yeah, it just, Penny Lane, says Tracy. Some night, so one of the things that's in the war room, that in the wall behind the camera right now, is the bar. But on the other, but next to the bar is a cabinet where my record player is, and all of my vinyl is in there. And in that vinyl is all of my mom's Beatles albums from when I was a kid. Ooh, this is a good one. Leanne says, I always loved Godhead's cover of Eleanor Rigby. Yeah, I love Eleanor Rigby as well. That's such a great one. Godsmack has covered the Beatles. There's so many good ones. Manson and Zombie covering Helter Skelter. See? There's so many good ones. Helter Skelter by U2, says Will. Julia named my daughter after it, says Suzanne. Motley Crue's cover of Helter Skelter. The I Am Sam soundtrack. Keith, that is a fantastic reference. That soundtrack to I Am Sam is fantastic. The whole movie is based around Beatles songs, and the whole soundtrack is Beatles covers, and it's really, really good. Not quite the same, but there is an album called Working Class Hero, which is all John Lennon covers, which is equally fantastic. Really, really good. Yeah, Aerosmith did a great version at the Grammys in 91, with a little help from my friends, says Marcy. Soundgarden's version of Come Together is so heavy. It's so good. Rodney says, surprised that you haven't considered getting a WAF-related tattoo, maybe of a studio microphone or something. I have thought about it. I just don't want to get the logo. I thought about getting the logo, but I want it to have a little bit more meaning than that, and I haven't quite figured it out yet. There's a bunch of tattoos that I have had in my head that I haven't. I wanted still to get tattoos to commemorate my trips overseas, and I haven't gotten those either. Ooh, A Day in the Life. Yes, it's so good, Mark. That's fantastic. Across the Universe. That's a great movie. Absolutely. And the movie Yesterday. Have you guys seen that movie Yesterday yet? I've watched it a few times. I watched it on a plane. I think I was coming back from Vegas with Stiz, actually. But if you haven't watched that movie Yesterday yet, you have to watch it. When people say, oh, the Beatles sucked, whatever, there's no other artist where they could make a movie about the Beatles than the Beatles. Like, there isn't another band big enough to be able to do it. But that movie Yesterday is, it's fantastic. The premise is that there's a struggling musician that's not getting anywhere in his career. And then there is a massive worldwide power outage, and he gets into a bicycle accident when all the streetlights go out. And when he comes to, he is the only person on the planet that remembers the Beatles, that the Beatles never existed. And he has all the Beatles songs because he's a musician. He knows all the Beatles songs, but no, the Beatles never existed. John, Paul, George, and Ringo never got together. They never, the premise of the movie is really good and really funny, and just, if you are at all a Beatles fan, you are going to love that movie. So go and watch it. Becky wants to know, is your makeup tattooed? Because it's always perfect. Thank you. No, it is not tattooed. But I appreciate you saying that it's always perfect because, well, I put it on every day. So thank you. Suzanne says, I cried at the end. So did I. Don't give anything away, Suzanne. Leanne also says Ed Sheeran was fantastic in it. Yes, he was really good in that movie. But don't give anything away, because if there's a lot of people that haven't seen it yet, please go watch that movie and then tell me if you liked it or not, because I think it's fantastic. Let It Be makes me sob uncontrollably. Yeah. Yeah, it just, there's too many. It is impossible for me to tell you what my favorite Beatles song is, but it's very easy for me to tell you that they are by far my favorite band of all time. They, when I was a kid, really solidified my love of music. And I loved looking at the album artwork, and I thought it was so cool when my mom told me about the whole Paul is dead thing. And when I went to London and took a picture in the crosswalk of Abbey Road, it just, I was, and standing outside of, the Abbey Road studios, and it's such a huge part of my life that I don't know what I would have ended up like had it not been for discovering the Beatles and being encouraged to listen to them when I was a kid by my parents. It just, Monica wants to know a favorite Beatle. I was always a John Lennon fan, but it's really hard because the Beatles never could have existed without the other. Like, While My Guitar Gently Weeps is one of my favorite songs, and that's a George Harrison Beatles song. So I love them all. I love it so much. I love the new stuff. I love, the newer stuff, meaning late 60s Beatles versus the more poppy, earlier, shag haircut Beatles. I love it all. Love it all, love it all, love it all. Okay, so speaking of Mike and my trip to Afghanistan, so I told you guys that I have been going through like closets and kind of trying to clean up a little bit and organize things. After AAF shut down, I had, probably 25 Rubbermaid tubs of just all my old archives, my old recordings, all the stuff out of my office, just all of this stuff. And it just showed up in the house and I couldn't look at it. And now I'm slowly starting to go through stuff. And especially since there was so much that I put up on the website. And because WAF changed website hosts a few times, a lot of those old blogs and stuff are gone. Unless I printed them out. And I found a manila folder that has a bunch of the things that I wrote on the website while I was in Afghanistan. And so I wanted to read one of them to you since you can't find them online anymore. So this was written September 16th, 2011, when I was still in Afghanistan with Mike. And this was just one of the things that I wrote. And when I was going through it, I was totally taken back there. And I'm so glad that I took the 5 seconds to print out some of these blogs and save them, because I forgot that I had done that, because they just got thrown in a folder someplace. And, if I didn't print them, they would have been lost forever, because they were written in the moment at like 3 o'clock in the morning, just sitting there, typing into the computer and posting it right on the website. So it's not like I have them saved on a Word document someplace or whatever. So the title of this blog, like I said, it was written September 16th, 2011. The title is Why I Love Afghanistan. And it says, yes, I said it. I love Afghanistan. The weather is amazing most days, even though it rained yesterday for the first time since we arrived. The scenery is unlike anything that I have ever seen. The mountains are majestic like the Rockies in the U.S. The fabrics and the clothing are so exotic and beautiful, and the tangible optimism amongst the people that I've met which would surprise most people back home. Now, make no mistake, I am very well aware of the fact that I am in a war zone. This country is like walking around an episode of the Flintstones sometimes. The images of the dirty children playing in the streets rather than learning in school. The puppies that I know will never be loved like they would back home. The women in the burqas walking around, walking behind their husbands who are so desperate for civil rights. And the buildings that were once beautiful and are now blown apart remind me that this world is less than perfect. There is so much work to be done here. And it's going to take the Afghan people generations to move forward as a society. But the reason why I'm writing this blog is our guys. Well, actually, they are my guys now. I've been accepted into this group with open arms. And as a woman, being allowed this kind of access to an infantry unit in a war zone is a special thing. They are not used to having a girl around. The long walk to the women's latrine is evidence of that. The guys were shocked from day one when they saw that I didn't pack suitcases and that all of my stuff was in Army-issue duffel bags. I traveled light here since I knew I was going to be moving around a lot, and I packed stuff that I knew I would need and nothing more. Acting like a girl is not going to win me any points here. I knew that before I arrived. It's a lesson that I learned 5 years ago in Iraq. From minute number one, these guys have treated me with respect and have taken me under their wings. And I am always trying to stay out of the way, apologizing when someone needs to get by. I try to keep my stuff out of the way and keep from making their lives any more difficult, but I always hear the same thing. You're fine. You're not in the way. Relax. To the people back home who have loved ones over here, I can tell you this. Your loved ones are brave, well-trained, hardworking, and very special human beings. It's been an honor getting to know them. They miss home, and they long for the days that they can hang out at the bar and watch the Sox and the Pats. But they also love it here. They are understood here. They are surrounded by people who relate to them and don't question why they do what they do. I try to imagine these guys back home working regular jobs, and it's hard for me. I only know them this way. I know that reintegration is a tough thing for our troops that have seen combat overseas. The suicide rate for our veterans is scary. The divorce rate is well above average, and the incidence of alcoholism, drug abuse, and violence is evidence of that issue too. It's tough to imagine what they are going through until you witness it firsthand. The events that occurred in Kabul yesterday are a perfect example. Yesterday, the ISAF headquarters came under attack by the Taliban, and I was there the night before taking pictures and handing out T-shirts to the local troops that are stationed there, meaning local Massachusetts troops. When word came down that the attacks were happening and the sirens went off at Camp Phoenix, the QRF, the Quick Response Force that I have been embedded with, were activated and told to get ready. And my guys started preparing for whatever may come their way. They began packing up the trucks with ammo and water. They programmed the radios and cleaned their weapons. They had classified briefings to go over intel and made plans based on possible scenarios. I was asked by one soldier to use my sat phone so that he could call his wife. He knew that she would be watching the news, and he wanted her to know that he loved her before he rolled out. He asked me to keep her number and to call her if there was bad news. Remember that I just met him a week ago. I was told by Nick, my bodyguard, to get my stuff together and to stick close to the shack where the QRF was. I'm safer around the troops and all of their weapons than I would be in my room alone. Mike is too. The guys were pacing around waiting for the go-ahead to go and do their jobs, and there is nothing they hate more than sitting around when they know there is work to be done. They went through the training, and now they want to be the ones to make a difference. The war in Afghanistan is so different than Iraq. Here, they are fighting with a scalpel, not a machete. Most Afghans are good, and our troops are not here to hurt them or destroy their way of life. They are just here to root out the select few insurgents that are hell-bent on destruction and terrorism. This makes fighting a war very complicated. And they have to worry about civilian casualties and collateral damage while hunting down and killing the enemy. And it's a tough job, and they are doing their best. When innocent people are hurt and killed, it's used against the Allied forces to try and convince the populace that the troops are bad and that they don't care. And progress is slow. The guys waited around all day, all dressed up with no place to go. And the word came down that the intel was sketchy, and that while CNN was reporting rocket fire and attacks downtown, it was possible that the plan was to get the bases to deploy the fighting forces and get them off the major bases, thus leaving them weakened and easy targets. And the question of how many resources to deploy was the question to answer. We passed the time with a card game and a movie and video games, depending on your poison. Some guys took the time to get a few minutes nap in, while others just paced around counting the seconds until it was time to go. I just waited to be told what to do, and in the meantime, I took pictures. I figured the guys would like to have these photos later on to remember the experience. They kept their senses of humor and goofed around with me, asking which weapon I wanted to take with me and if I was ready for my first firefight. I knew very well I would not be hitting the road with them, but if I could have gone, I would have I would have been in that MATV so fast it would have made their head spin. I feel safer around them on the road than I do on the base in my room alone. I know it sounds stupid, but it's the way that I feel. I napped briefly in a chair in the middle of the chaos, and it was the best sleep I've had since I arrived. In the middle of the night, some of the guys rolled out, leaving another team back on base just in case, and I was told to get some rest and given specific safety instructions about what I should do if the sirens went off again. When I struggled to get sleep in my room, the guys in the shack, hold on. While I struggled to get sleep in my room, the guys in the shack waited to get the call, and the guys that went to the ISAF earned their CIBs when they got shot at and when a grenade was thrown at their vehicles. 1 minute they were joking around with me, and the next minute they had shrapnel hitting the sides of their truck. That's how it is here. You never know from 1 minute to the next what will bring. But whatever it is, they're ready for it. I'm sitting here trying to figure out what makes these guys tick. What makes a person run towards danger when most people scatter away from it? They are not superheroes like in the comic books. They are mortal men with flaws. They know that they are not perfect, but somehow together, when the shit hits the fan, they become perfect together. I'm so grateful for the opportunity that they've given me, and I just don't feel worthy enough to accept this gift of friendship and loyalty that they have presented to me. I know that in a few days I'll have to say goodbye, and I don't know how I'm going to do that. And soon enough, I will be at Logan, ordering an iced coffee and heading home to my family, while my guys are still here, waiting to go to work when they are needed. I'm not sure how I'll say goodbye or how I'll feel. I just hope that I'll leave them with a little bit of love from home and the understanding that they've changed my life forever. One sergeant told me that I was the breath of fresh air, and another one wrote home saying that, quote, the opportunity to just sit around and talk about Boston with someone from home was appreciated. It's not the scenery or the culture or the weather, it's the guys, and that is why I love Afghanistan. So there you go. That was one of my blogs that I wrote while I was over there. And those are the guys that I joke around about all the time, and the guys that I still am very close to and consider family. And I'm really glad that I printed out some of that stuff before it was lost forever. And Shane says, got a buddy heading to Iraq next month, can't come home before because of all of the shit going on right now. Jeff says, friends for life. Yeah, it's, thank you, Monica. I appreciate the kind words. Thank you, Will. We didn't sleep a lot. And Mike and I just really wanted to spend every waking moment just hanging out with the guys and really being able to kind of talk about what it was like there. And, you know, that attack on the ISAF headquarters and the U.S. Embassy was a turning point for our trip. We had a lot of helicopter flights and a lot of, you know, outlying bases that we were supposed to go and visit, and a lot of those things got canceled after that ISAF attack. And they had shut down communications on the base for a couple of days, which made a lot of the families back home really nervous. But because we had a satellite phone and we were able to still, you know, be able to post stuff, a lot of the family members of the people that we were embedded with knew that if we were still calling the radio station and we were okay, that their family members must be okay too. And so I just hope that it kind of gives you an idea of a little bit of what a day in the life was like, not to use a Beatles pun or anything, but what it was like, just, you know, what it was like to be over there and kind of what Mike and I were kind of thinking, what was going through our heads that whole time. So I appreciate you guys sitting there listening to me. Sorry, I was stuttering through it a little bit, but the type was really, really small. Let's see. Let's find. All right. This one is called Champers Drink Recipes. I just hit myself in the mouth. Got lipstick on my book. From the New American Bartender's Handbook. So I give you guys a different drink recipe every night. This is called Champers. There's no dairy. There's no eggs. It is an ounce of brandy, 2/3 of an ounce of fresh orange juice, 2/3 of an ounce of fresh lemon juice, and champagne. This sounds pretty good for summer. Shake the first 3 ingredients and then strain into a champagne flute. Stir and fill with champagne and serve. A little fancy, a little highfalutin in the champagne glass, but there you go. So that's called a Champers. So that is your drink recipe here from the War Room tonight. Kathy says, my son-in-law served in Iraq and Afghanistan and he doesn't like talking about that. He's still in the Army. Thank you for sharing. You're very welcome. It obviously, you know, I say this every time, but I feel that it needs to be said. I have no idea, you know, what our troops have been through, what it's like to have gone on some of those missions, multiple deployments, losing friends. Obviously, you know, my experience wasn't without incident completely, but I'm not a combat troop. So the experiences for those guys coming back to talk about is very difficult. But the whole reason I went over there was to talk about it. So the stories, the funny stories, the sad stories, the tragic stories, it was my job to talk about what was going on over there. And, you know, over the years, I've taken every opportunity to be able to go and tell these stories, whether it be, you know, at charity functions or military functions. I've done a lot of guest speaking at different businesses. And just to really kind of try and explain to the large amount of civilians that we have in this country that have never experienced war, to give them a little bit of a glimpse into what I saw, which by no means is what our troops have seen, but I've seen more than most civilians. So that's what they wanted me to be there for, was to be able to tell these stories and talk about what it was like. And Dave says war is hell. Yeah, I mean, you know, I have a lot of friends that don't like to talk about things, or they only talk about it when they're with each other, or they talk about it with me sometimes. You know, I was honored that they let me go over there to be able to kind of talk about some of the things that were going on, and to be able to tell these stories. And a lot of those pictures that I took, you know, with the guys all kind of standing around, I made sure when they all got home that they got those pictures. I have thousands of pictures that I took over there. And, you know, some of them, they just don't seem like anything, a big deal to like put up, you know, on Facebook or whatever. But, you know, these are pictures of, you know, the guys just kind of standing around with their buddies, and they're pictures that the guys want to have just for themselves. So, you know, I love to be able to talk about the experiences there. And I found some, you know, there's a few more blogs in there, so I'll read another one at another night. So Tammy says, make a book. I know people have told me to do that. And, you know, maybe I should take this opportunity while things are so shut down, but I'm, you know, trying to find ways to pay the bills and do other things right now. So one thing at a time, but I will figure it out, and the stories will get out there one way or the other. So, that's why I'm so appreciative that you guys are there, you know, listening to me tell these stories every night. Otherwise, I would just be sitting here rambling on myself, telling these stories all by my lonesome. So thank you guys. Cheers. Maybe someday I'll figure it out. Let's see. Please do read me all the things. Lou says, I know it's appreciated. Yes, Memoirs of Mistress Carrie. Do it while you can, says Betty. I know. Maybe one night that'll be the thing I ask you guys in the comments, what I should call the book someday. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. One thing at a time. Let me figure out how to get in front of a microphone again before I figure out how I'm going to pick up a pen and try to write a friggin' book. Tales from the War Room. There you go. That's fantastic. Heather says, I would buy it. Oh, thank you. My friend Andy Biggio has a book coming out called The Rifle, where he's been interviewing World War II veterans. And his book is going to come out later on this year. And he's, you know, someone that I could sit down and buy him a couple, 2, 3, 10 beers, and he might be able to give me some very sage book writing advice. So when his book comes out, I will definitely let you know, because that should be a bestseller for sure. All right, guys, I gotta go. I'm gonna go finish my drink. I'm gonna go put those blogs away, and I'm gonna go see why my pug is so pissed off at me. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me every night. Tomorrow is Cocktails in the War Room number 60. And it is Temple Tuesday tomorrow. So do not forget to make yourself a Shirley Temple tomorrow night. If you so choose, we're going to let our livers have a break. And we're not going to drink tomorrow. And it is also our way of showing those that do not drink, that are in recovery, that we are standing with them and trying to help them through this incredibly stressful time by showing them that even though the name of this is Cocktails in the War Room, that they are welcome as well. So don't forget your Shirley Temples with the extra cherries tomorrow night here in the War Room. All right, guys. Thank you to all of the healthcare workers and the first responders and our National Guard troops and all of the essential workers that are out there stocking shelves and driving those trucks and doing everything that they can to keep the rest of us living as normal a life as humanly possible. So don't forget, don't lick anything weird. Wash your damn hands. And I'll meet you guys back here tomorrow night, 8:30, right here. The Franklin and Bash Chronicles. That is a good one. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Good night.